What's up, y'all? What's up? What's up? What is up, you guys? Happy blessed Thursday to those of you guys that are entering in. I am a little bit late. This morning has been somewhat of a slow morning. For those of you guys that are tuning in, whether you are here now or catching this thing on the replay, tell God thank you and tell us one thing that you are grateful for. Hi, Micah. Tell God, tell God thank you and tell us one thing that you're grateful for. I will say that today I am grateful for cooler weather. It has been extremely hot in Mississippi, and today it was cool enough to where I had to pull out a actual sweatshirt, and so I'm grateful for that. I'm gonna kind of just flow into today's daily manna. This one is probably not going to be like any of the other ones, but I do believe that even in life's most painful moments, that God has revelation and He has a lesson for us all to take out of it. No matter how painful it is. Last night, and so many, as you guys can see, a different prepare for a different outcome is the title of today's word. Last night was a night where, for lack of better words, and because I don't want to go into all the details, my oldest dog passed away, and we buried her last night. And so it has been a different morning. It's been, yet last night was a different night. I was so used to just hearing, I am so used to just hearing her feet or just hearing her maneuvering throughout the house. So it has been like an eerie quietness. This morning, it's been somewhat emotional, but not really as bad as I thought it was going to be. Um, I wanted to share some of the revelations that God has been giving me about, thank you so much. I wanted to share, so, and I don't want you guys to like be sad. I'm not telling you guys that for sadness too lingering. I want to just get the revelation out and go from there, because I feel like I've been a thought away from just like breaking down. But I did wanted to share some of the good that God has revealed to me out of that. I feel like there are so many things that happen to us in life in general that can scar us and that make us fear following God. I feel like a lot of us have gone through things that even when it's over and done with, you find yourself still lingering on the residue of what happened to you, and it affects your relationship with God going forth. By a show of hands, just give me some fire emojis if I'm making sense. And so I feel like, a part of the journey of faith and a part of the journey of God repairing our trust in Him looks like sometimes putting us through similar situations to give us a different outcome. I believe that, like, when this first happened to me in a season, this was years ago, 2012, 2013, where I was homeless. And even once I got out of that season and life was on to something better, like, I remember like being so scarred by that season that I like told God, like, I'm never gonna be put in this position ever again. Like, I'm never gonna let myself get back here. Like, that was my mindset in that season. And I remember like giving God like my yes, and going into full-time ministry, going into full-time entrepreneurship. And Capone, what's up? Going into full-time entrepreneur going into full-time entrepreneurship. And I remember like feeling like I had made the worst mistake of my life. And there was a portion in that season where like I'm going to God and I'm asking God, like, Lord, like this season feel familiar, like what is it? And it dawned on me after about like a few days that like what I was feeling was exactly what I experienced when I was homeless. Now, I'm going to say this. When you are in the middle of the storm, God telling you like to prepare for a different outcome seems like a reach. I'm going to say that again. A lot of times when you are, thank you, Lord, for joy. A lot of times when you are, in the middle of the storm, God telling you to prepare for a different outcome seems like a reach, because your fear is telling you that the same thing is about to happen and it's about to be as bad as it was. And a lot of times we find ourselves, following God, but preparing to be disappointed. I'm going to say that again. A lot of times we find ourselves like trying to follow God, but at the same time of following God, preparing for God not to come through, preparing for things to, be for us to be disappointed again, or just preparing for the worst case scenario that like we are afraid of. And I feel like in that season of my life, what God told me was that he put me through that again so that he could give me a different outcome. He told me in that season that, like, when I was homeless, that, like, even though I came out of that season, that I didn't come out of that season a believer. I didn't come out of that season believing that God was a provider. In fact, I felt that God had failed me and that it was just some sort of chance that or luck that got me out of that season. And so it's like, even though I got out of that season, in the season after, like, being homeless, like, I didn't like seek God in the area financially. I didn't follow him in that area. It was just moving to the beat of my own drum, playing it safe, playing it wise. And for 2 years, my life was like that until God, asked me to, follow him into something completely new. I feel like there are a lot of us that in this season we are going through things that may resemble something that you said you never wanted to go back through, or something that traumatized you. And I mean by traumatized, like, it scarred you to where something can happen in your life, and if it reminds you remotely of the thing that you went through, like, it's almost like you are reliving that traumatic moment. For me in this season, like, and just okay, I can say that. For me in this season, I feel like one of the things that God has been healing me from is, like, my perception of him when it pertains to my dogs. In 2000, it's really started like in my wilderness. This was what God was showing me last night about Sweetie, and this is where, like, the revelation comes from. So she passed away last night, and I, like, sat and I thought about, like, just how things played out, and just how things played out. I knew that, like, it was God. Even though, like, it was raining, like, I had help. The vet came out, well, not the vet, but the vet tech came out, and she brought the stuff to, like, euthanize her because it was really, really bad. She looked horrible last night, and I knew that I couldn't just let my dog suffer like that. And I knew that something was, I could just tell. But just from how things played out, and as I was just spending time with God last night, I said, Lord, in my history of, like, traumatic experiences with dogs, a few things have happened. The first thing that has happened, like, in my wilderness, I just didn't have the money to, like, get the treatment. Like, the money just did not come. And so, in a way, like, even when I got out of that season, I didn't trust God to be provider, like, when it pertained to my dogs. And so they unconsciously became idols. And I'm gonna just say this: whatever it is that you're a bird, what in the world? Whatever it is that you are afraid of, if that fear goes unchecked, it turns into you making that area of your life more important than the voice of God, more important than God himself. And that is what we call idolatry. And so that was kind of where that season was birthed. Just traumatic experiences in that wilderness, and it turned into me just not trusting God in that area. Even after that season, after I had gotten out of the wilderness, like when Bella 2022, the second part of the traumatic experience was, okay, now that I'm able to take care of my dogs, it got to a point with Bella where all of my resources went to helping her. But not only did all of my resources go to helping her, but it was one of those things where I felt like I watched her suffer longer than I wanted to watch her suffer. And I felt like God wasn't, like, paying attention to how I felt, or even just like my dog in a sense. And so I was telling him last night, I said, like, this time feels different. It doesn't feel heartbreaking. It is heartbreaking, but not to the degree like where, like, Bella was. Like, these were, like, things that I was like noticing just about, like, last night. And so I told God, I said, I can thank you, even though I'm hurting, even though, like, it feels different, even though this was a change that I would have never just asked you to change in my life. I can look at it and say, like, I got a different outcome. You didn't make her suffer. You didn't make me watch her suffer. But not only that, like, it didn't, with Bella, it seemed like even the vet that I had at the time, nobody wanted to help her. And so it's like coming to, Sweetie, and it's just like, I had help. Like, the vet tech dropped what she needed to, she dropped what she was doing to come out here. I had help burying her. And so it wasn't like I was doing it by myself. And I'm going to say this: I feel like it's not until we start to actually heal and deal with the traumatic things that have happened to us that we can actually perceive, like, how deep our scars run. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? I'm gonna say that again. I feel like it's not until, like, we come face to face again with the things that have traumatized us that not only can we see, like, how deep our scars run, but it's not until then that we actually get to see God move in a different way. And I'm gonna just say this: healing from traumatic experiences requires both courage as well as faith. And I feel like I'm not the only person that, even though mine is what it is, I feel like each of us in different aspects of our lives are going through things that remind us of a season that we'd rather not rehash. Many of us are going through things where it's like, God, why are you bringing me back to this point? Or why does it look like I'm about to go backwards? And so as I was just kind of just sitting with God this morning and honestly just grieving and talking to him, the Lord told me, he said, tell my people to prepare for a different outcome. Yeah. Prepare for a different outcome. God told me, like in my wilderness, like when I finally like put two and two together, I'm like, okay, like I've been homeless before. I felt helpless in that season. I'm feeling the same way now. He told me this. He says, I didn't bring you back to this place to let to let you succumb to it or to let the same scenario play out again, but I brought you to this place so that you can exercise faith, so that you can see that I'm not a malicious God. And I feel like this. I feel like in moments where we go through things that are traumatic and maybe God doesn't respond the way that we feel like he's going to respond, how sometimes we come out of those seasons feeling like God is bad, like God did bad to us or he withheld from us, and we have a skewed perception of God that is oftentimes like a negative perception, whether it's not trusting him as provider, whether it is not trusting him as waymaker, whether it's not trusting him to heal you, or whatever the case may be. And I feel like there are some moments where God knows that like the tenderness of that traumatic situation is so real that sometimes he lets us for a brief period of time live with that trauma. I'm gonna say it again. I feel like sometimes he knows that those things push us to the edge to such a degree that for a brief period of time, he lets us live with the trauma. Meaning he lets us act as if it never happened. He lets us live life to the beat of our own drum. Like he lets us do all of those things. I feel like leading up to like Sweetie, it wasn't just about trauma with dogs, but for me it went deeper, like trauma like to just losing people at a young age, having to numb myself to just hurtful things, losing people that like it affected like just my ability to perceive what was really. It's like I checked out whenever like someone or something, I was about to lose something. It's like I check out, get numb, and it's just like it happened, and now I'm feeling blindsided and I'm feeling like God didn't prepare me. And so I feel like even just leading up to this moment, that God put me in a place to where I could ask him to not shield me. What are y'all doing? Or I could ask him to like, God, don't let me numb myself. Don't let me like not see things for what it is. Like, even though it hurts me, even though like this goes deeper to something that is like that goes back to my childhood, like help me not do what I've always done. And I feel like for a lot of people, like the trauma for a lot of us does go back to like something that you experienced as a kid. Even if you're far removed from your childhood, a lot of the things that we battle with in our faith walk and even in our journey with God, it's like that. And so I feel like we serve a God that strategically allows for us to feel like the same storm is about to re-emerge, just so that he can show us that he's not the God, he's not a God that fails us. And I feel like there's a supernatural healing power to moments like that, where you know that you went through something traumatic, something that you almost didn't make it out of, and you thought that God was about to put you right back through that thing, and right when you're preparing for it to happen all over again, God says, see, I'm not that same God. See, I am who I say I am. I am a healer. I am a waymaker. I am a provider. I am a father. I am all those different things. And I feel like in those moments, it allows for us to truly shut the door on the devil, preparing for a different outcome. And I'm going to just say this. It is hard to prepare for a different outcome when all you know is fear. Whew, that's heavy, Lord. I'm going to say it again. It is hard to prepare for a different outcome when all you know is fear. So even if you can hear God saying like it's going to be a different outcome, a lot of times, it's you still feel like that uneasiness to like even just working through your faith and trusting God and choosing obedience and choosing not to, shut off your ear to hear. I pray that I'm making sense. Like That's so real, because that was honestly how I felt this entire time. It's like I'm opening up myself. It hurts to open up myself and to look at some of these wounds and to think about some of the things that I've gone through in life, but I am being courageous and I'm doing it because I want to be a better me for you, God. I want to be a better version of myself for the people that you've called me to. Like, I want to be better, but it hurts. And even though I hear you saying, like, prepare for a different outcome, look at what it looked like. Like, for real. This was me. Like, look at what this looks like. Yeah. That's how I felt. Like, look at what this looked like. This looked just like Bella. Like, this was me talking. I'm like, this looked just like Bella. Look at this. You know? And right when I thought that the same thing was going to replace itself, God said, nope, nope. Now you get to trust me in a way. And I'm gonna say this. Faith shuts the door on the devil. Those supernatural healing moments, even though they take us to the end of ourselves, even though it takes all of our effort and they are exhausting to get to a place where you see God in a different light, it is ultimately the thing that shuts the door on the devil. And I'm going to just say this, wherever there's trauma, there's an opening for the devil to attack. Wherever there's trauma, even if God is letting you live with that trauma, I'm gonna say this, even in those seasons after traumatic moments where God may say, I'm gonna let you live with that trauma, we ain't gonna touch it right now. I don't know if y'all have ever noticed, but the devil will a lot of times like attack us in those areas. The entire time we living with trauma, we are being triggered the entire time. Right when you get to a place of peace, right when you get to a place where you feel like you're okay, here comes the devil triggering you. So in a way, it's like healing shuts the door on that cycle of the devil being able to hold things over your head or remind you of moments where you feel like God didn't come through for you or you feel like God didn't do what his word says he does. And so, for me, like yesterday, last night, and even where I am today, it was like God shutting the door on the devil being able to affect me in that area in a negative way. And I'm gonna just say this: the devil attacking us is serves only one purpose, and that purpose is to pull us away from God. So a lot of times we feel like we're suffering and like certain things are, painful for us to go through. But at the end of the day, God is looking at it from a greater perspective. He's looking at it from a perspective of, I know this hurts you. I know that you don't want to do it. I know that it's painful. But he's looking at it from the future. He's moving with the end in mind. He's looking at our lives and say, I want to stop the devil from tormenting you in this area. And the only way for me to stop the devil from tormenting you in this area, whether it be financially, whether it be in relationships, whether it be, emotionally, whether it be mentally, whether it be financially, is to put you through a divinely orchestrated storm. And it's not a storm that's sent by the devil, which are storms meant to take us out. It's a storm sent by God, made and created by God to evoke a different outcome. And so, like that was what God was saying. And for many people, I feel like the month of June is going to be just that. The month of May has been a month of honestly just facing trauma. It's been a month of feeling like it's heart, like God is doing heart surgery. And I truly believe that in the month of June, it brings freedom. It brings brand new beginnings for a lot of us. And so, that is basically in a nutshell what I had to say today. That was what God has given me today. Prepare for a different outcome. No matter if you say, T, I've been through this a million times, prepare for a different outcome. In so many words, what God is saying is this time will not be like the last. Whether God is asking you to shift into another apartment, whether you're shifting into another job, whether you're shifting into just an entirely different season, trust that this time will not be like the last time. And if we can be for real, the trauma of remembering the last time is a lot of times what makes us not want to follow God. It's a lot of times what makes us want to rebel against God. You get what I'm saying? Just the trauma of, oh, I already went through that. I done been there, done that. Like, oh, I would rather not. A lot of times those are the things that make us. And so it's like God has to remove those thorns in our side so that we can continue moving forward. And so if this has blessed you, Can you just tell God thank you? That's it. Yep. I don't know if I'm in the mood for TikTok right now. I'm really not in the mood for TikTok. Um, it's just been it's an emotional time. I don't really feel like I want to be on TikTok or like I want to flow in that particular way right now. And so I'm not sure if I'm gonna be on TikTok today or tomorrow. I'm just not really in the mood to be for. Hey, you bring another stick up here, I'm gonna whoop you. Bow and these sticks. I promise y'all, my entire front porch is just filled with nothing but sticks. But that is it. That is it. That is it. That is it. To those of you guys that feel led to sow, the seed number is the number 9. 9 is the number. Wow. 9 likes, 9 people watching. 9 is the number of finality. Whether you sow a $9.99, whether you sow a 99.99, whether you sow a 19.29, whatever God leads you to sow is what you should sow, and you should just label it a different outcome. Label your seed a different outcome. As always, the ways to sow are always in the description of every single video. We have 3 more days: today, tomorrow, and the next day. And those are the end of our $35 coaching session. So if you would like to get a coaching session for 35, now is your time to do so. Yeah, the birds are going, the wind chimes are going. It's just been an eerie piece, if I can just be for real. It's just an eerie piece here today. Um, but yeah, that's it. That's it. I am, is it Kayla or is it Kaylia? I don't want to mispronounce your name. I am trying to. I told God I'm not really in the mood to flow. I don't want to flow. I don't want to do that. I don't, yeah. The daily manners are a lot more peaceful for me. They're a lot more pleasant. I don't feel as much pressure, or as many people just pulling on me in these daily manners. It's everybody that's here is here to receive, and it's just, yeah, them birds are going crazy today. I don't know what they talking about or what they got going, but they are going. They are going, and so that is it. Kaylee, okay, sorry, Kaylee, but yeah, that is it, y'all. That is it. I don't know what they talking about. I really don't. So today I said I'm going to actually clean, go to the store, get some cleaning supplies because I got mud. Y'all, I was so muddy last night. I said, Lord, you know I love that dog. I was in the woods, like on the edge of the woods, digging a hole for her. Sliding, child, in the rain. Pouring. It was pouring down raining. I'm not lying to y'all. Pouring down raining. And so yeah. Yeah. So that is it, y'all. That is it. Yeah, I don't foresee TikTok right now. I'm not really in the mood for it. But if I am in the mood for it, just be on the lookout. I may indeed go on TikTok, but for right now, no. Mm-mm. But that is it, y'all. As always, I appreciate all the thumbs ups. Again, if this has blessed you, you just sow and you label this your, different outcome seed. And so I'll see you guys at some point tomorrow. Yeah, Kaylee, it's something. Yeah. All right, y'all. I'm finna get off here. I love y'all. I'm rooting for y'all. And so till next time.